Mata. What else could we expect from that duo? And again, only one team in the race. VICI won it convincingly, and Gamti, they need to show something different if they want to be in this next match.
And I think a lot of it comes down to adjusting their picks and bans. So we'll see what comes through that's going to be different as far as this pick phase for Gamti, because having that the Graves Ezreal, it worked in one team fight, sort of half work, or maybe.
The way I look at it, Atlas, is they chose champions with mid to late power spikes against a team known for exploiting early game power spikes. They like to pick the lane dominating champions, the VICI Graves, the VICI Lucian. They picked a Twisted Fate, of course, who has so much control over the mid game. And it was just a situation where they were just never allowed Gamti to hit any of their power spikes, and when they did, when we finally saw Trinity Force Mirror Mana at 21 minutes, it just paled towards all the tanky stats Carry had managed to stack on Gnar, and I can completely understand picking up the Gnar again because it's a lane bully, Atlas. It can play from in front, and it did it with aplomb in the previous match.
Yeah, and you see Carry's face. He's just like, all right, well, I guess I'll pick Gnar then. It's pretty easy. Sync Dream, though, is going to be picking up the Janna in the victory that they did manage to pick up. His Janna looked fantastic in the last couple of days. And of course, last week, actually.
And there's no Nunu available. That's kind of a considerable situation, is that no Nunu is available for VICI to pick up. Dandy's going to pick up the Rengar. Again, no Nunu available, so can't go for the Nunu against Jarvan matchup. Has to settle for the Rengar.
Yeah, and Mata looking at potentially picking up the Morgana here, but might be going to Hatong or to Carry. I mean, we might have a Gnar AD carry. Who knows what's going to be going on here, of course. You get a few curveballs here in the LPL, but Gamti, we'll see what they decide to answer with as Tail, thinking about taking away Vasili's Lucian, which I think is intelligent, and Let Me might be hopping over onto the Kennen.
I can understand the Kennen pickup coming through just to fight like champion with like champion. There's a lot to compare Carry's Gnar to the Kennen coming out from potentially from Let Me. Different build paths, definitely going to be a lot more burst damage coming through from the Kennen, but in terms of laning phase, long-ranged auto attack harass, Q harass, it's going to lane very similarly, and to see who transitions better into the mid game. Lucian is the lock-in. See if Vasili goes even more early game. Maybe it's going to be the Graves, maybe even work over to the Caitlyn.
Yeah, and we'll see what kind of lane they want to set up for themselves here as well, whether they're going to possibly go for a Kalista, which is what I was about to mention. Vasili hovering it at the moment, does have the opportunity to go for a Corki if he wants to as well, but of course Lucian does do fairly well against that champion, and Hatong, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And look, the Twisted Fate, you definitely need the Graves for a bit more lane power. It's a skill matchup between the Lucian Graves, but very similar champions. They fulfill the same roles. Blind pick Twisted Fate. Yeah. This is a gambit I was not expecting them to send. Because Twisted Fate has some
genius.
He has some real terror matchups that he struggles in, and they've got their pick of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry for the Gambit reference sort of cutting you off there, but it was just absolutely gold, as Xiaohu now has an opportunity to pick something in this mid lane that might change things up.
That's going to be mid lane.
I'm sorry, I'm sort of a little bit speechless because I'm so incredibly excited, because mid lane Zara is one of my personal favorite options in the game, and
let's not speculate, though. I mean, it's going to be a high-damage champion, and this is one of the worst matchups for Twisted Fate possible. Ari did not escape the pick and bans in the first series. Suddenly, he's opted into what is a very difficult matchup against Ari.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, but we haven't seen Xiaohu play the Ari all that much. That's probably what Hatong was banking on, was maybe this champion isn't necessarily in his champion pool just yet, but it's a bit of a no-brainer when you've got such an immobile Twisted Fate. And Xiaohu, we'll see what he can make of this Ari pickup, because it's looking a lot better for Gamti now, and they have the teamfight presence of a Kennen who also has a lot more power in the laning phase.
And it's very understandable that you wouldn't expect the Ari, because Xiaohu's been a person about champion mastery, not necessarily about size of champion pool. Excellent on his practice champions like Xerath and Ezreal, but he throws a curveball with the Ari.
Yeah, and in the top lane, of course, the Kennen versus Gnar matchup. Kennen has worked out quite well against Gnar in the past. And Huey again going to be going with this Jarvan. We'll see how he goes this time. Hatong versus Xiaohu. This is going to be an exciting matchup, but the switcheroo in the bottom lane, and we'll see whether Tail has the same success as Vasili did.
I mean, look, Vasili's going to be looking to play the same way. Lucian can win this matchup. There are lots about the supports. Morgana versus Janna. If we see the early Dark Binding, then potentially Vasili can win that lane, but it's going to be a tenuous one. Skill matchup in the bottom, not a skill matchup in the middle. Escape Summoners versus the Xiaohu Ari.
Yeah, and Xiaohu's actually picked up Cleanse here once again, so That is going to be a big deal. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to the Rift.
That's fine.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to VICI taking on Gamty for Game 2. Between these guys, of course, Gamty looking to try and make it yet another split if they possibly can.
But look, they opted into the blind pick Twisted Fate, which means they don't necessarily have the mid-game advantage across the map. There's a champion like Rengar who really wants to live up to level 6. Solo invading against Gamty. Have to respect Xiaohu, though.
Yeah, Dandy going very aggressive. Orb of Deception only going to find Marta here as well as Xiaohu comes around. Let me, with a nice shuriken's going to find him. But it is just going to stifle for one moment. Dandy successfully got the ward, though.
A very aggressive invade coming through. Gets complete vision, you'd have to say, for VICI on the red side. Jungle coming through from Gamty. Backing away. Be interesting to see what they're aiming for. Are they aiming for the lane swap? You'd have to think so. The only safe area of the map for them to look for a first buff at this point is the red side jungle for Gamty.
Yeah, well, precisely. Let's see whether they're going to be able to find it here as Huey, still looking around, does get spotted out by this ward towards the top side. Shows the path of this Jarvan, and that's very important in this early stage.
Absolutely. Jarvan is waiting very healthily. 155 will be when he finally shows himself at the Krugs. That will give VICI the vision, because of course they have complete vision of all 3 buffs on the red side jungle of Gamty. And they will get the lane swap that they've initiated. Of course, they're the blue side team. They're the ones saying they're duo lane top. Blue side lane swap initiation by VICI Gaming.
Yeah, and the double jungling to come through now from Let Me as well. Doesn't want to head towards that 2v1 lane. There's Howling Gale going to come through from Sync Dream, but not really find anyone. Just a bit of a breeze to pass over Carry as Dandy and Carry just hanging out towards these Raptors. Now going to clear that one out very effectively. And as far as jungle follows go here, Papa Smithy, Cannon or nah?
I mean, the big thing to say about the jungle follow in general, Atlas, is that Rengar, of course, has low pressure in terms of lane ganks before level 6. So having this jungle follow, potentially a 4-man gank, actually suits Dandy, who has a lot of follow-up CC, but it's not the best initiation. But of course, as a 4-man stack, I do like going for the jungle follow for Rengar, because it causes so much mixed jungle pressure, as we don't have anyone entering lanes till much later, that it takes away from the fact that the skirmish pressure from Jarvan is so much superior to the skirmish pressure early from a Rengar.
Yeah, well, exactly. See how it does work out and whether Huey can actually have an impact this game, because it just wasn't happening in the last one. Dandy falling very, very low. But he's going to be able to take down that blue buff. And he's just going to head back to base here as well. Huey does pick up that Rift Scuttler, of course. One of the best jungle camps to grab, if you can even call it a jungle camp, just because it gives you free money without you actually having to take any damage at all.
Carry actually used the bounce again to bottom lane, does not have that available, and suddenly 4 members of Gamty.
Yeah, and we'll see what the Howling Gale is going to start this one off, and Carry was not with a Ruby Crystal this time. Sync Dream tanked up the turret for a couple of hits, but that Gnar fell so quickly.
He was just so greedy to get an extra CS that he used the bounce to get into lane. Suddenly 4 members, nothing he can do. Uncleansable CC coming through from Huey. The teleports at the counter teleport comes through. They're looking. Carry wants to get back into lane, so they'll start to control this lane. But first blood goes to Gamty. Very nice jungle pathing.
Yeah, and Xiaohu with so much pressure here in this mid lane as well. Nothing that Hatong can really do against this Ahri, who's zoning him away from experience. Look at these creeps dying now out of the range of Hatong, who's looking to try and get some answering damage back, but that's not a gold card. That was a blue, and Xiaohu just sort of weathers the storm.
I mean, the scary thing actually to talk about in the mid lane is that Cleanse is actually functioning as an aggressive summoner in this lane. You might think, oh, but Cleanse, it's not exhaust. It's only really used defensively. But because you're a consistent damage carry, as we see in the bot lane, a bit of burst damage come through. But because there's so much consistent damage coming out from Ahri, and the only tool that Twisted Fate has to deal in lane, remember he has double escape summoners, but no combat summoners at all. The only tool he has to disengage the Ahri is a gold card. It can be instantly cleansed by the Ahri. So she can overextend with a plum, and there's nothing Twisted Fate can do. Going for mobility summons and not lane summoners against a counter matchup, Hatong, he's going to have to play so far back if he wants to survive this lane.
Yeah, and Lemmy in this top lane is getting zoned out just a little bit by Vasily, who's being very aggressive on this Graves. And that is one of the things that's fantastic here about Graves. You put him in a solo lane and he does fine.
But you can say the same thing about Kennen to some degree, because Kennen used to be a ranged AD carry back when he had 575 range. At 550, he actually still outranges Vasily. So even though it's level 3 to level 5, picking up the extra Doran Blade is negating the experience advantage for Vasily.
Yeah, and actually Kennen used as an AD carry as well. Of course, European LCS is where he sort of had a little bit of a time in the sun. It was a long time ago, though.
25 range ago as well.
Yeah, 25 range ago would be precisely that. And it's good to see him back in the meta, even if he's now just back to being a top laner.
It's one thing I'd like to see, actually, is a no-mana AD carry. It's an interesting situation. I think Riot have been trying to shy away from that, but it's interesting. And when Kennen was in the meta, that's how he functioned. The ultimate, more of a self-peel, disengage tool. But again, double Doran Blade doing quite happily in this 1v2, hell, 1v3 lane now with Morgana roaming top.
Yeah, Marta hanging around, throws down a puddle there as well, looking to pick up a little bit of money there, but not going to find it. As he is going to find a shuriken there, as Electrical Surge going to help let me get a little bit of damage onto this Morgana and hope that he doesn't get dove. But you can see with an extra Doran's Blade, he's very tanky here in this top side.
You know who's not tanky, Atlas? It's the Twisted Fate. Gone for Sheen again in a counter matchup. I don't really know what to say about the fact that he's gone for Sheen against an Ahri. He needs jungle pressure, and he needs it now.
Oh, he's getting knocked up out of the Destiny here as well. He's got the gold card, but there's the Spirit Rush. Lands the charm, easy as you like. And Xiaohu, we questioned whether he was a good Ahri player, and already doing quite well.
And Hatong, the Sheen choice, the overly aggressive item choice, now uses both escape summoners, and crucially, Cleanse is still available. But Dandy, he's found tail.
Yeah, Flash forced out here of the AD carry in the bottom side. Definitely a successful gank to come through, and Carry going to continue getting farm here on this bottom side. Seems you can't keep down the Carry Nah, as he has a 6 CS advantage over his lane opponent there towards the other side of the map.
A lot of tools were used to hold down Kennen. Remember, there was 3 members in top for a long part of the engage. Credit to Huey for EQing out the Destiny, the flag and drag, interrupting the channel of the Destiny from Hatong. And now Hatong will have to continue playing back, because the moment this Spirit Rush is up, Gold Card is not going to be enough to stop Xiaohu from killing him.
Yeah, and we always talk about Twisted Fate whenever he's picked. You need to make sure that that first Destiny is going to work out for you. And you have to say, getting EQ comboed out of it definitely is in the cons column when it comes to that.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You're being a bit facetious, but definitely no fun at all. The Destiny didn't even complete. It was just used for vision in that situation. Only opened up both his summoners for his death. Yep. Not ideal for the Twisted Fate.
Yeah, so you have to think this game going to go slightly differently for VICI Gaming, but still, there's nothing in it as far as gold is concerned. Vasily's moved back down to this bottom side of the map. There's no dragon that's been taken as of yet. And we'll see whether Xiaohu can put up enough pressure on this Ahri to really help them through this mid-game.
The buy timings from VICI were very on point. Vasily's always the first one to shop, and that's why he had his BF sword early, so they get a lot of damage onto the bottom lane turret. Huey and GT, they're going to pick up the blue buff, and Xiaohu, he's going to continue his relentless pushing in the mid lane.
Yeah, Hatong actually not even managing to make it to the outer turret here as well, as we're going to have standard lanes as if nothing had happened. Papa Smithy as Let Me and Carry going to face off towards this top side, and very even on farm. Hex Drinker completed now for Carry, so a lot of the magic damage coming through from Kennen not going to be too much of a problem, as of course Hatong with no summoners. It's no surprise that Huey's hanging around this mid lane, despite the fact that there's no Twisted Fate actually there.
I find it a bit surreal that we finally see the return of Dandy's Rengar. I believe it was used in week 1 or 2, but it's been largely absent in the preceding 6 weeks. Now in week 9, we see the return of Dandy's Rengar. I almost thought that because of the because of the mixed language rosters, that he kind of shied away from the Rengar, because he was so effective in that champion pre-6 with all the excellent communication between the members of Samsung White, and the pick wasn't working for VICI, that he'd shy away from it, but was banned in the first series, now instantly taken in the series second. Okay, a lot of jungle picks were banned away, but it's interesting to see him pick it up, and he's been largely a non-factor in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, generally Rengar not going to be as much of a factor early, but you're exactly right, because, you know, Thrill of the Hunt has been available for quite some time, And it's only sort of now that he's heading towards this bottom side that he might be using it for the first time. Tail actually going aggressive here as Huey's coming in. Dandy leaps himself out of the brush and explodes Tail with the help of the collateral damage. There's the teleport coming through at the same time. That was some interesting interactions as Letme's going to come down with a slicing maelstrom, but he's just going to get deleted as Carry picks up a double kill. And VICI Gaming, they pull the trigger.
But everything looked good for Gamti. Actually, Xiaohu was faster to react than Hetong. He was already bottom before the Destiny was completed. But the assassination came through from Rengar. That was the big factor, the instant first kill on the AD carry. And then Letme just activating the Slicing Maelstrom inside Jarvan's ult. Didn't even use his flash. I guess he was already really low and didn't think they'd be able to get a counter engage. But a massive win for VICI. 3-2 after being so far behind in this game.
Yeah, and Letme managed to get in amongst 3 members, but of course he only had 2 Doran's Blades. That Slicing Maelstrom, it was there for CC, but he's only level 6. He's only CCing a couple of people.
And even with the 5.4 changes, as you mentioned, this wasn't a lot of burst damage coming through. No AP stacked up. Meant that it was largely negated, as you mentioned. And yeah, I mean, nothing that GT were able to get done in that situation. If anything, they fall behind.
Yeah, and Xiaohu now with a more difficult thing in the mid lane here, just because, you know, those Lucidity Boots have been completed. You're going to have more cards coming down from this Hetong, and he's just going to clear out waves over and over again.
And look, Carry out of nowhere, 2-1. The big Gnar from the first game may show up once again. Isn't able to have the luxury of facing a double AD and just stacking armor, but he's already got so much cost-effective magic resist between the Spectre's Cowl and the Hex Drinker for a bit of offense.
Yeah, and of course, anyone that's going to be coming from sort of this upper side of the map is going to be dealing magic damage to him. Apart from Huey, you have to think, but he does have his Warrior Enchant completed, but he's going to be mainly tanky here, and he doesn't really need to worry as much about it.
I would have actually liked to see, as we see the Gnar ultimate is used in top.
Yeah, Letme in a bit of trouble. He does Lightning Rush himself out of the way, but the Hyper Proc comes down and Carry asserting his dominance in this top side as Letme continues to try to farm. But Dandy, he's here again. Doesn't quite have Thrill of the Hunt, but he's not going to want to use it here just because he knows that Letme's trapped. The Flash, of course, is still available. Huey's making his way around, but Dandy, he's in and he's already out again.
He was spotted by minions. I think if he came through the lane without a minion wave to spot him, he might have gone for the aggressive turret dive with Destiny. But with Destiny still not available and being spotted out by the minions, probably smart to back away.
Yeah, and Tail, 2 games in a row now where he hasn't had the greatest time, and switching up the matchup seems to have not worked out too much as Vasily continues to have a 30 CS advantage here in this lane. That lane swap working out for VICI Gaming very, very well as Xiaohu's still doing fantastically here in the mid. Does have an 18 CS advantage, but Hetong, I mean, he's picked up his couple of assists, and there's no vision now for Gamti around the Dragon as the Scuttle Crab's going to get picked up. But the Dragon not going to happen just yet for VICI Gaming.
So you might wonder, okay, so he just built a luxury Avarice Blade. Why not just go for the Crit Cloak and work for that Infinity Edge rush? You know, one of the factors obviously is the Infinity Edge nerf, the 5% crit strike reduction, but because he has a Twisted Fate, Vasily was looking to just stay in lane, despite the fact they've already taken a turret, and push up the waves. You can see how aggressive he is, way onto the Gamti side of the jungle, but he's got a Twisted Fate. He knows a Twisted Fate can use the Destiny for vision, can react to a gank early, so he's happy to just stay in lane, overextend it, and farm. So he's opened up the opportunity to go Avarice Blade by the jungle pressure from the invisible Dandy ganks and the direct pressure of the Destiny coming through from Twisted Fate. So just again, all that jungle and mid lane pressure opens up this very greedy build from Vasily.
Yeah, and just before we were talking about the fact that Dandy was a non-factor, as soon as he makes his presence known, everything starts going far better here for VICI Gaming. He was waiting for his opportune moment and picked it up. There's the Destiny here coming through to the top side. Letme tries to use his ult to get something from it, but not going to find anything, as that's the gank power of Rengar and Twisted Fate.
But it is 4 members committed to the top lane. There could be an answering Dragon coming through. Dragon has been alive for a little while, so they're going to go check that buff and get the control over it. The wards, they know what's happening here, VICI, but committing 4 members to the top should open up an answering Dragon.
Yeah, no Destiny going to be available to get Twisted Fate anywhere near it. This Dragon is going to fall down in exchange for Letme's life there on the top side of the map, and even more farm now for Carrier. 30 CS advantage, lost the top outer turret at the same time, and this is sort of the age-old question. Turret for Dragon, is it worth it? But when you get a kill for it as well, and Carry gets to continue asserting so much power and strength here in this top side of the map, you have to think VICI aren't going to be too worried.
I mean, I can't believe that's actually the first dragon, a very late first dragon around the 15-minute mark. I was actually looking for the dragon live timer, but it doesn't come up until the second dragon's being committed to. First dragon for, as you mentioned, a kill on the outer top turret. I think you take that trade if you're VICI. It just extends the advantage. It's actually 1,300 gold between the top laners. The 40 CS definitely being the large part of that gold lead.
Yeah, Let Me continuing to have not the best time on the Rift today, and Morgana was sort of unable to get anything done in the last matchup, and we'll see whether it's going to be sort of these later team fights where the Cannon really is able to excel. I
mean, the mage play from Let Me, specifically the Kassadin, was wonderful earlier in the season. But now with Kassadin out of the champion pool, at least for patch 5.4, trying other mages. The Morgana didn't work, as you mentioned. And now the Cannon, just looking for that first big item time. He needs the Zhonya's to be relevant in a team fight, but still is struggling to get the gold. I believe it's about 500 gold away from that item. And on the other side of the coin, I mean, Nah has already so many mid-game items and 1,500 gold in the pocket. Could even pick up a really early Banshee Veil and wade through all the CC coming out from Gamti.
Yeah, or just sit in his lane forever because he's almost immovable here on this Nah. And Carry, it just seems like as soon as he gets that champion, he's like, all right, well, it's another win in the book.
I mean, that's the way VICI have been playing. You can see the confidence, and Vasili's Graves has to be complimented, trading upon the fact that the moment that Dandy has a successful gank, like you said, you have to respect the thrill of the hunt. You have to respect the invisible gank pressure. In terms of defensive pink wards, they don't have many on the map, just one towards the bottom of the map, so you don't know where that Rengar is. They haven't been able to get a lot of aggressive wards down necessarily, have Gamti. They do actually have quite a lot of red side vision, but they didn't a few minutes ago. So Twisted Fate and Rengar causing the pressure to open up the greedy item build. Now he has Berserker Greaves and an Avarice Blade ahead of Tail.
And Tail is going to find Vasili with an Ardent Blaze, but just going to try and protect this outer turret in the mid lane as Carry's coming through for a potential dive here onto Let Me. Turret does fall down in the bottom side of the map. Xiaohu with some nice split pushing in response to her Tong, but Sync Dream does find his friend Let Me up here. They know that this is largely the focus of VICI Gaming, where a lot of their members are positioned. And look at all of the vision in the Gamti jungle here towards the red side of the map. VICI are just all over the map yet again. And despite the fact that Gamti had a much better early start to this game, VICI seem to be just able to fall back into the same situation.
But look at Ahri. She has a very aggressive spot. Xiaohu's strong. Ahri's been the one champion that hasn't been held down. Still doesn't show himself, and is going to stay in that brush. The big issue here, Lich Bane CDR, but same build coming through from Hetong, despite the fact that he has no hope in hell of split pushing against this Ahri. Does have the global pressure, so can maybe bait out bad positioning from the Ahri and try and group with his team, but needs some very on-point communication to be able to pull off those ganks, and just can't split push with Lich Bane against Ahri.
Yeah, and Xiaohu actually forced away from that pink ward there just because there were so many members of VICI not shown on the map. Really have to respect the thrill of the hunt and that destiny that can possibly come through. Tail just going to continue clearing out these minions here in the mid and hit a little bit more of a stalemate here. 4,000 gold almost is the lead for VICI Gaming, as Let Me continuing to push up this top side and try and get some farm in his back pocket. It's just under 30 CS. The lead for Carry now, but this Nah is just going to be so huge in these late game fights.
So I'm just thinking about strategic ways to deal with what VICI is showing today, because they're showing that if they can get away with Twisted Fate in the laning phase, the threat of the Destiny, the threat of the Rengar really accentuates their early to mid game power spikes that they like to pick, and just allows them to extend leads in the early mid game. Because if you don't get on top of Dandy, if you don't repeatedly gank Hetong, you have to respect the globals. And then it opens up free farm for Vasili. It opens up free farm for a lot of their members. Carry has been overextended the whole game. Vasili's been overextended the whole game. But Gamti, respecting the globals coming through from VICI, have to let it happen. So maybe they'll continue this trend and really try to take advantage of the fact that with the insurance of the likes of the Twisted Fate Destiny, they can do some aggressive things.
Yeah, speaking of which, Destiny towards this bottom side. Oh, nice quick draw to get out of the way of the Charmer. Zhao, who's in so much trouble now. Gold card lands, easy as you like, and Hetong picks it up with a stack deck proc. Just lovely stuff from VICI Gaming.
And just no point of even using the Summoners. Cleanse still available for Xiaohu because you couldn't kite the damage coming through from Vasili. VICI, strategically, on a different level this series.
Yeah, it's just beautiful to see. And as soon as that charm was down, VICI just knew that there was no way that he was going to die, and easily just picked up the kill. Hetong was just there with the perfect destiny, and that was sort of the first one that's netted him a kill, but 1-1 and 3, still behind in farm, but he's probably not too worried.
No, I don't think he's concerned. He's built for split push once again, which he might find difficult, but they've got a Graves, and they don't have that much range when they're going for the split push, so actually having the Lich Bane in a group situation might be fine. As Carry finds Let Me and has red buff.
Yeah, he's got a red buff, and Let Me's actually just going to teleport away, and with no Mega Gnar, there's no hard CC to stop it, but that just shows in a 1v1, Let Me's forced to use his teleport to escape.
That's the second time today. I actually saw that in the first series, Zatai porting away in much a similar situation. So getting a bit of inspiration from his fellow Chinese Chinese top laner. And look, but that's kind of an indication. If you have to teleport away in Vision, your team's probably not doing too well.
Yeah, something's not working out here as Gamty. They're looking at their second dragon. Going to be able to take down the blue buff here first, but VICI, they want to arrest more control over the Vision. Of course, feel very uncomfortable when they don't have a ward in every part of the map, as Letme's doing his best to try and hold off this onslaught on this inner turret in the mid lane. Xiaohu looking for something, does have Spirit Rush back available. That cleanse, as you mentioned, wasn't used, so that's also there for this next fight. Ardent Blaze not going to find anyone as Dandy throws an Empowered Bowler onto Huey, and that's a lot of collateral damage over Gamty.
Yeah, they're just trying to work out whether they should rush down this dragon or move towards mid and try and get the inner turret. Gamty have position on the dragon. VICI do have flexible options. They still have their globals and their Throw the Hunt available.
Yeah, and of course, Let Me with no teleport, use that defensively. So, dragon's been started up here by Gamty, but it is going to reset once again. And this stalemate seems to be in the hands of VICI because Hetong just able to pressure whenever he feels like.
You can see Hetong actually looking potentially for the flank onto Kennen, just buying time. The dragon's getting aggroed and re-aggroed. It's about half health as Twisted Fate does pick out the outer turret.
Yeah, and this might be the time when VICI decide to go in. Huey does pick up the dragon. Is Destiny going to be used here, though? That's the question. As Huey Cataclysm's in, but he dies immediately. My goodness, Carry took a lot of damage as Xiaohu looks for Hetong, who came through the backside. Let Me gets exhausted immediately. Marta taken down solo. VICI dies, though, in the backside, and Let Me, he's still alive. Tail takes down Marta. Sync Dream shields himself up as Carry's looking for something here, but gets hit by a charm. And that is going to be Tail picking up a second kill in this fight. 3 for 1. And Gamty get the dragon. Beautifully played.
You cannot use those Destiny engages onto Xiao. He has the cleanse. Already had Death Cap completed. Consistent damage coming out from Ari cannot be ignored. And the overdive coming through, just not respecting the summoner spell cleanse. And a one team fight for Gamty.
Gamty now have to pick up some structures, though. You saw how much gold is in the hands of VICI Gaming even after that. But let's have a look at this fight again.
So we'll watch the replay, and it's all going fine. They picked the first kill up on Huey, and it looks like another team fight win for VICI. But you see the engage and the cleanse is blown instantly by Xiaohu, and the consistent damage in the backline, the burst damage onto VICI, very respectable. But this is 2 members of VICI already down. It's the solo attempt coming through from Carry. Very tanky, but unfortunately not much you can do against 4 members.
Yeah, didn't quite have the Merc Treads there as well, so we got a bit CC'd and destroyed in that fight. As Let Me going to continue the split push as we head back into the live game. Static Shiv now completed for Tail in response to the same from VICI. So a lot more even on items this game, and Hetong almost has the Zhonya's Hourglass, and that might mean that the next fights they're going to be going down might be a little bit better, as Carry just going to throw a house at some minions here, but might be in a bit of trouble. 3 members towards this top side. And we'll see whether Carry continues to go so far forward, but with no one on the map, not going to.
Absolutely. Not too much to get up there. You know, meeting a minion wave, not that important in the grand scheme of things, with the threat of so many members. And VICI, with all this pressure down the top lane, he's happy to push in bottom.
Yeah, inner turret in the bottom lane is going to be taken here as Hetong with his Lich Bane going to be doing so much damage. You can see it just gets chunked down. Let Me not even going to be able to take the outer turret in the top lane as the inner turret falls down. And that is the second inner to go down this game. 5 turrets to 2. And Gamty need to pick up structures because they're falling behind in the global gold. It's 6,000 gold ahead for VICI. despite the fact that Gamty just won a fantastic fight, and it's 6-5 in kills, this game is theoretically close.
Yeah, the turret game is what's opening up a lot of the gold lead, and just the fact that Vasily has farmed up a Storm, keeping above 10 CS a minute, already 3 item Graves. And with the fact that they've been having so much trouble getting to the backline, Destiny's actually used here. I'm not sure if we'll see an initiate because Graves is still on the red buff. Not sure if the backline dive will be successful. Let Me doesn't have flash. They kind of need a flank engage onto this Graves, because if he's getting consistent damage out, he's a last whisper ahead of Lucian.
Yeah, and Hetong actually using that Destiny to get to the bottom side, continue pushing up that wave, make sure that Gamty have to leave this Baron area where VICI didn't want to face check. Xiaohu just going to clear out this wave in the mid lane. And again, we're going to go back to this stalemate. Scuttlebug does fall down as Huey does take an empowered bowler, but is able to clear out the vision. You can see there are a few pinks, but they're a little bit closer to VICI's base than they would have liked. And Gamty now looking to try and continue pushing. Hetong giving up his split push just for now, as Mega Gnar in this top lane going to be pushing towards the last remaining inner turret. And Gamty are just getting dictated to this game.
I mean, it's the same story as the previous game. They're in a better spot because they have stronger team fight. But we're going to have to wait to see if VICI can win a fight. My goodness, this is an aggressive move.
This is a very aggressive Baron call. It has been started, not really react to it all, as there's no vision. There's the Scrying Orb to come down as Dandy gets a ward over the edge here at the same time. And Gamty, they do back away.
The Scrying Orb, the value of that summon spell cannot be expressed or overstated. They had 3 pink wards around this Baron. They knew they had exclusive vision of the area, but all undone by the Scrying Orb from Vasily.
Yep, Hetong about to use that red card to start off this blue buff here as well. And again, VICI with just so much control over everything that would normally belong to Gamty.
Oh, that's the crazy thing, though, as they had 4 pink wards. My apologies if there's 4 pink wards around the Baron. That was actually a very safe Baron. It felt like it was an overextension, but with 4 pink wards, only the Scrying Orb, or they could have peeled off and picked up some kills. Gamty, they'll feel really hard done by that. 400 gold to get exclusive vision around that area did not result in any advantage.
And they could have potentially even just stayed on that Baron as well, finished it off, because of course there were members of VICI out of position, but the rest of the vision for Gamty just wasn't up to it. Is Dandy going to start this fight off? There's the Destiny coming in as well as Carry. He's about to go Mega. There's the Mega bounce into this one as well as Tail just gets destroyed. Dark Binding flashed out of the way of, but that's the carry that VICI were looking for.
So it'll be interesting what VICI go for. Both the top and bottom minion wave is pushing against VICI, and Ari with all her wave clearers alive. So maybe they won't get a big strategical advantage, but that was a much better engage. The key factor for VICI winning a team fight is both Carry and Hetong getting onto the backline. Can't be one of them at one time. You need to have the dive, the Mega Gnar, in coordination with the single target lockdown coming out from Hetong.
Yeah, and Vasily now on this bottom side continuing to push up these waves, and VICI are just playing with so much confidence. We've seen VICI sort of change and develop over this split, but this is the first time we've seen them play with so much coordination and control of the map that we know is capable out of the likes of Dandy and Marta.
I mean, the thing I like about it is that extending win conditions that they've already previously been able to show that they can act upon. They've shown consistently, we mentioned it pre-game, they're like taking down the outer turrets, out-rotating, and finish the game early. They're very good with their turret game. So pick up the Twisted Fate, return to the Rengar, add threats that force the enemy to play safer. You have to be so much more defensive-minded when you're against globals, when you're against stealth. And the ability to act upon that information and extend what was already an early game focused team and add intangibles like globals, it's just doubling down on win conditions as Dandy pops the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, VICI actually looking for an engage here as well as Dandy jumps into the middle. Xiao, who takes half of his health as Huey. He jumps down. He's got the Cataclysm there as Letme comes over the edge at the same time. Zhonya's is available and Marta's going to fall down. Letme will finally fall, but it took a lot of time there as Carry now just destroys Tail in the back line. The Destiny is popped as Xiao, who takes a fair bit. There's going to be the Randuin's Omen. Hetong just dies. Just flat out instantly. That was slightly embarrassing as Xiaohu looking to try and flash away. Gets it over the wall. As Sync Dream looking there as well. And it's a 3 for 3 in the end.
And that was all Xiaohu as he's looking for another exit kill on Dandy.
Oh, is he going to be able to find the charm? He doesn't find it. And the Foxfire not going to be enough either. Carry doesn't get hit by the Orb of Deception, and a red buff, just as congratulations.
But that would not have been a competitive fight if not for Xiaohu sniping Vasily with the charm, stopping that high damage Vasily with so many items already. After the QSS, a first CC came through, had to QSS, and then the charm got the assassination kill on Vasily, and then towards the back of the fight, as you mentioned, sniping her tongue as well. So Xiaohu showing that he can do big things with the Ahri, has great item timings, just doesn't have a lot of mates that can really help him out, because, I mean, Letme's had to go for an emergency build, the Void Staff after the Zhonya's.
Yeah, now has an amplifying tome, which makes you think that he might be going towards something like that Haunting Guise, just because he needs power now. He needs to have relevance in these fights, which he just, quite honestly, hasn't had. He had a brilliant positioning for his last Slicing Maelstrom, but just wasn't really doing all that much.
I mean, the two biggest tools to deal with a Kennen are the likes of Alistar, the hard disengage, which VICI doesn't have, but exhaust is always such a strong summoner spell choice. If you exhaust during the Slicing Maelstrom, it negates a lot of what Kennen does. It's purely a CC tool, rather than also the very high burst damage that ability can do.
Oh yeah, you've seen Kennens do absolutely ridiculous things with that ultimate, plus the W as well. I mean, that's 2 spells. And often Kennens can halve your health, but not happening this game, as Letme has been thoroughly dealt with. Has still picked himself up a relatively decent scoreline as Hatong continues his split push in this bottom side of the map, but just hasn't been Kennen that we've seen run over games.
No, and the person running over this game is Vasily. He's the highest level in the game, level 16. He's been hoovering up waves in the side because he knows that no one will even dare to engage against the Rengar TF pressure. Had the Avarice Blade earlier, so he's got so much economy going. 3,000 gold ahead of his lane opponent. QSS, we already saw it used in the previous fight. Now Mikhail's also for Morgana. Black Shield, QSS, Mikhail's. Doesn't matter that there's double AP and the Black Shield won't last that long. Vasily, if he's not too aggressive with his position, that's a bit of an if. We've seen him definitely overextend for damage this series. He's got a lot of defensive tools as well from both his support and the QSS that he's completed with all that extra gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to be able to finish off a BF sword. You have to think very soon as Letme's going to get engaged on. There's going to be the Destiny, but it's a nice Zhonya's from Letme. Just to say, yes, I'm getting stunned, but I'm going to do it myself.
Absolutely. The stun fizzles as he goes into stasis. Means that he can't look to necessarily team fight with the Zhonya's not available. So that's still a relevant thing for the next 90 seconds to 100 seconds. But no big objectives to fight around, so probably just going to be kited out.
Yeah, still has that ultimate available, of course. Now has the Haunting Guise. Picked himself up an Elixir here as well. Sync Dream just gets destroyed. Nothing that he could do about that as Carry now does have a decent amount of rage in his Naba. Bounces forward as well. He's going to get the Gnar onto Huey, but it's not Tail. That's not exactly what he wants. Cataclysm comes down, but Vasily makes short work of that Jarvan as Dandy tries to find his way in there. So Slicing Maelstrom immediately exhausted. This is precisely what you were talking about. And VICI, with their target selection, get a clean ace. That was stunning.
I mean, it didn't matter who he got the Cataclysm on Atlas when Vasily's deleting people like he's the assassin on the team. Twisted Fate's built for utility, got the split pushing, got the Zhonya's for initiation, but Vasily's the one with the damage. They meet the minion wave in top. They'll take this inhibitor turret, and it should be the first inhibitor of the game because it's Huey, the only damage-relevant person available in the next 5 seconds. Still 20 seconds on the other carries.
Yeah, and that's $3,500 in the back pocket of Vasily here as well. That is absolutely ridiculous. 341 farm at 33 minutes into this game. Ridiculous stuff coming through from Vasily, and my goodness, he's just, I don't know what he had for breakfast this morning, but I want some.
So the last 2 times we saw VICI Gaming come out, firstly they showed the Diana Nidalee Cho'Gath comp that really scared a lot of people. We've seen a lot of targeted bans. Nidalee bans were already coming down to Dandy, now ever present. You know, having to really factor in the fact that they can run that very interesting poke comp. Now you have to be worried against playing against VICI in future series. Will they break out the Twisted Fate? Because the Twisted Fate gives you so few strategic options. One of the reasons why whenever he's in meta, junglers kind of cower in fear or feel great depending on which team he's on. If your jungler's winning or even, it opens up aggressive movements. It opens up Vasily's aggression. He can just overextend for every wave, hoover them all up, and just be level 17, highest level on 80 carry, we have to remember. That means he wasn't even with his support because he was getting solo experience, trading upon the pressure coming through from the Twisted Fate. So now another ban is added to the pool that is required against VICI, and these are not bans against necessarily Dandy. It's Hatong that's finally getting some respect, and that's a scary thing in a team that has Dandy and Mata.
Yeah, well, precisely, and of course Mata Had his Thresh band away, I believe.
Yep.
Unless that one was still available in this particular game. He had his Janna picked away from him, but his Morgana has been brilliant in these fights. Just able to be that peeling supporter. Xiaohu doesn't get stunned up. They're just going to immediately use that Spirit Rush. Ooh, gold card is going to be popped as well as the Ghost. They really wanted to find that pick, but Xiaohu is going to be okay. Gamty looking to defend. They've lost that top inhibitor, so the base has been broken. They're 13,000 gold behind. If they get a miracle team fight, maybe there's a way that they can stall out this game, but it's not going to go from sort of a one team fight to a one game here. It's an uphill battle, most definitely, for Gamty.
And strategically, they don't have a lot of options, though, Atlas. Remember, their base is broken in top. They can rotate the Twisted Fate around the map, and he can always port in with Destiny or get extra information with the Destiny reveal part of the ultimate. You have to think Baron is a very realistic objective. Someone has to be defending top, which of course makes bottom a great place for Twisted Fate to be split pushing. And then the moment you see multiple members, just start that Baron.
Yeah, and of course Hatong able to just Destiny his way out of it there as well. So Gamty not going to be responding to that until they very much have to. Dragon is going to be down. I don't know whether Gamty actually know that just yet. They've had decent control over that one. It's only even now at this stage as that most recent Dragon did fall down. Destiny's being popped here, though. Hatong looking for a play as Huey might be caught out. Doesn't have the Ghost available. Does land the gold card. The wild cards are there as well, but Jarvan, pretty tanky. Yeah,
it was a few seconds away from Flash. Is finally up. Has the Distortion Boots, so the Ghost should be available relatively soon. Very low cooldown with Distortion Boots. Twisted Fate's separated from his team.
Yeah, there's a Cataclysm actually onto Hatong. He does have the gold card. Lands a lot of extra damage as the Zhonya's comes through as carry. Looking to try and help back up his team, but Tail's getting soloed out by Dandy. The Monsoon to come down from Sync Dream to try and disengage, and Tail is going to be okay, but Marta gets destroyed before the Soul Shackles could come through, but Vasily, so much damage, and Huey and Lenny get destroyed. There's the Nada come down at the same time, and everyone melts on the side of Gamty after what looks like something that was going rather well.
Absolutely. The dive onto Vasily looked good. Popped the QSS, exploded cannon. So much damage on Vasily. This has been a wonderful series for him. They can tank up this turret with the very tanky carry and Dandy. Actually, no, they're going to try and finish the game.
Yeah, they can tank up the turret if they want to. They could walk all the way through it and utilize these super creeps that are smashing against the Nexus. And Vasily, so fantastic that he's in this victory screen, because this game was definitely